Did you change any of your strategy? Was there any other tricks or things up your sleeve that really like helped you guys? Because it was pretty obvious from the main broadcast when I was watching, like you were uncontested for the most part all the way through the entire tournament.
Okay. Since we won, yeah, okay, I'll tell you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into another Bot Lobby podcast episode. Super excited about this one as well because we have another special guest. Now, this is a crazy, not even coincidence. This is just raw skill is the reason we've gotten here, Katie, because the last episode we had on the man, the myth, the legend, Hisoka, talking about World Series of Warzone and talking about his come up and his team's come up through the World Series of Warzone qualifiers. They got first in the qualifier, the open quals, that was kind of a TKR style. They got first in the customs quals and were prepped and ready to go for the finals. Well, at time of recording here, we are one day after the North American finals, and we've brought on the winners of the North American finals onto the podcast. It just so happens, let's go ahead and bring him in. It's Skullface. It's Hisoka's teammate. They did it. It was a clean sweep. Skull, how are you feeling this fine afternoon?
I am feeling amazing. I couldn't be more proud of the boys, honestly. I'm just so happy that we did it.
And I mean, GOJJ, it's such a blessing for us. You can't ask for a better setup than we had Hisoka on last week, and he, I believe it was you asked, who should we have on, right, for the podcast after the NA finals, and Hisoka goes Skullface for sure. Now this is before the finals had even happened, and here we are. You couldn't script it better than this. Skullface, the champion by a large margin for the NA finals.
Yeah, I want to hear just generally, how are you feeling today in terms of, you know, you've had some of the adrenaline wear off and it's starting to set in that you guys did what you did, which was a clean sweep. So we're going to get into our rapid fire questions like normal, but I just want to hear, how are you feeling today? Give me your general thoughts about the whole thing.
I just feel amazing. Like the amount of time and effort we just put in the World Series, it's like I was excited. But don't get me wrong, but like we kind of like I expected that from us, honestly. So like yeah, like no duh, we won. You know, like I was excited, but it's like
okay,
back to usual.
Yeah, no, I like that. Well, I know Hisoka basically didn't give us anything about your strategy and the amount of prep that you went into, so I'm hoping you'll be able to open up about that today. And we're gonna basically start with that. But first, as per always, we do these rapid fire opening questions just to kind of get the ball rolling, to hear some of your kind of opinions and thoughts on whether it's metas or people you've played with. So let's talk about it. Let's go ahead and start it, and just give me whatever comes to mind first, whether it's a one-word answer or a one-sentence answer. That's fantastic. If you regret it later, no big deal. First and foremost, this is a lob up. Favorite person to stream with / compete with? That could be two different people if you need to.
Soka, and it's just one person.
Yeah, I figured.
So this is a new one in our rapid fire. Who was the first creator or competitor to give you an opportunity in the space?
That Wars. Yeah, that was easy. I played Wars in a CMG tournament, and I came up top. Next day, I was at the gym. He's like, yo, want to play some wagers? Left the gym right away, went home.
That's awesome.
I like that. That's great.
Well, and I remember when you and Wars were playing like quite a bit together, like kind of back in the day, and that was really where most people that were kind of on the outside looking in kind of found out who you were, because you guys were slapping people around. Favorite streaming moment of all time?
Streaming. I would say honestly, when I started streaming, playing with Barstool Game Time, playing with Schmitty and White Sox Dave, like that was fun. That's what got me into streaming.
I've played with him before too. It is a vibe and a half. It's definitely a good time. Favorite meta of all time?
Back in the day in Verdansk, I was an HDR and MP5. That was my favorite meta.
I respect that. You got the long range. You got the close range.
Yeah, that was before I was competing.
Sure.
Of course.
Sure. Favorite competitive moment of all time?
Oh, that's hard. Winning the World Series. Like, it was yesterday.
Yeah, that's another lobber. I love it.
Favorite competitive Warzone format?
Not 2v2s. I hate 2v2s. Customs.
Okay.
Customs all the way.
Is it trios, or do you like quads, duos, etc.?
Trios.
Okay.
I think trios is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the ideal team size, and I think it's going to be probably what Activision uses for most of their events going forward. Okay, if you were playing a 2v2, and maybe we can expand this actually. Let's say it's trios. You're in trios customs. Who's your least favorite team to compete against? Who's the team that you're like, okay, these guys, it maybe isn't that they're better, but they have our number most oftentimes?
TBE and TBE.
Okay, I respect it.
How many times do we get that answer, Goj?
Yeah,
you guys, though, I know. So I was in studio with Thief, Joe, and Breadman, and I know if I asked them that question right now, Skull, they would say your team, because 4 out of the 5 maps, there was either bounties on you guys or you were getting in fights with them, and it was not ending well. And they were like, at the end of it, they were everywhere all the time. Why couldn't they just get away from us? But TBE makes a lot of sense. All right, hardest loss.
My first big tournament. Me and Wars won the qualifier, but we lost to Aiden and Rated in the finals of the Vicstar.
Oh yeah.
Vicstar tournament.
Yeah.
That was tough. I was last alive too, and I was just trapped. Campers top summit. Then I went down below and full teams right there, and I got stunned.
Oh, that's tough.
Those are the good old days. Not really. I mean, they were the old days, I guess. The good days still ahead of us. Okay, final question, and then we'll hop into kind of talk about the trick, I suppose, as they say. If you could have any dream brand deal right now, what would it be?
Oh, Dr. Pepper, easily.
Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper?
23 flavors in one can. That's it. That's all I have to say. It's amazing. I got a Dr. Pepper hat behind me, cans, and I have like a cutout of just a Dr. Pepper can.
What?
And I have emotes of Dr. Pepper.
Sure.
That's my thing.
This is how we know, Goj, we have to get Myapo on, because we get Viagra from Hisoka. We get Dr. Pepper from Skull. Myapo's gotta have something that's out there too. I like it.
I respect that a ton. Well, thanks for entertaining us with some of those rapid fire questions. Now, usually we start from here on out, where we go, all right, tell us your backstory. Talk about. We're skipping that for now. We'll come back to that. We'll talk about your history. We've got to start with the World Series of Warzone. Like it happened yesterday. You guys just slammed everybody. There was a moment, if you guys would have had a good, even a decent last map, like where you could have put up some pretty solid numbers, like you would have obliterated everyone, and it wouldn't have been close. So walk me through it, like front to back. We'll say the history of your World Series of Warzone training. Where did it start when you guys said, hey, it's gonna be us 3, and then what was the preparation like leading up to the finals?
Well, right away, me and Suck were a team, and we just have to find a third, and we actually took my apple from Rated. We stole him, and I'm glad he left.
So not to cut you off, but it was originally going to be Rated, Mayapo, and Otter, which we've seen that in the past, and then he replaced Mayapo with Shifty because you guys snagged him.
Yeah, we took my apple from him.
Dude, that's awesome.
Wow, you come in, you're like, I've got a better offer. We're gonna win.
Okay. So you grab him, then what?
Then right away we read the rules of the format, which the TKR, which a lot of people didn't know at first. It's best 10 individual scores.
Right.
A lot of people did not know that at first. So like all before, we were just coming up with tricks and plans and how can we get the most kills for one person. And we came up riot shield, stuns, a stun grenade launcher, just one person's just doing contracts. And first game on, we didn't stream it, but we knew the plan worked when Myapo first game on dropped 50. And we're like, we're winning this.
Yeah. And that was the strat, which most people started figuring that out pretty quickly and then put in the time on it. And that is, to be clear, fixed for the open quals of CDLR. That was something that I particularly was talking with Activision, being like, hey, we have to change this. So, but you found the trick there. So that's trick number one. You changed the system on purpose. It was open to that, and everybody else did it as well. But you guys come out on top, the very top. I mean, you're averaging 60-point games or something stupid because of the trick. So you get through open quals. There's no problem there. Talk to me about the customs quals, and in particular customs in general. What sets you guys apart in those quals?
Well, well, we did play scrims and before the customs, and after we would play scrims, we would go in our VODs, see what we made, what mistakes we made, what we could have done better. Then we go at every other player's VOD and see where they landed and what they were doing. Besides, my Apple, he had a whiteboard of like not all the teams, but most of the teams that their landing spots. And
I don't know how many other people would have been doing that level of prep that you guys did.
We did like some nights we would just hop on Caldera just run around the map, not even getting kills, just to find spots around the map.
That is so interesting. So in like on paper, that makes a ton of sense. Let's be very clear. Like, you know, Katie, you and I can have this conversation as casters. Like, you know, sometimes some casters set each other apart or set themselves apart by doing a ton of prep. Like, you know, put together massive spreadsheets and things like that.
Yes, Coach, you are great.
No.
You go above and beyond. We're just gonna throw it out there.
No, I just mean like when you prepare a lot of notes, it usually speaks volumes about how you can perform. With Warzone and the RNG of Warzone, or at least to some degree RNG, I think some people would say, oh, that amount of effort, is it worth it? Obviously, you proved them wrong, but like, did you guys feel during the customs, the closed quals as well as the finals, that type of prep of like, these people are landing here, these people do these things, like informed your decisions going across the map?
100%. There are definitely some teams you want to stay away from and just see where like the teams we could easiest break down and where the rotations were and how.
What are the teams that you wanted to avoid?
In the quals we had Liam Beams, Braxton. Liam they went village. Braxton goes storage always, and yeah, those were pretty much the two teams you wanted to avoid.
But you felt pretty comfortable in the quals of just like, hey, let's just do our thing. I mean, I said it to Ahsoka on the last pod. Like, I literally said on broadcast, because I was casting that, I'm like, I would eat a shoe if you guys didn't qualify, because it was just so unlikely, right? Because you just had to get top half. So you go into the finals. Did you change any of your strategy? Was there any other tricks or things up your sleeve that really like helped you guys? Because it was pretty obvious from the main broadcast when I was watching, like you guys were going peak every time, and for some reason, maybe just because everybody feared you, you were uncontested for the most part all the way through the entire tournament.
Yeah. I feel like one thing too, since I'm kind of glad that we played the quals, because we just got so much practice in chem. Because I'm sure there's some trios out there that didn't even play until the tournament, or just play private lobbies. Like that qualifier, we really want to take advantage of that and get the first place. And I forgot the question. Wait, what?
No, you're good. You're good. No, that was a perfect answer. I think the kind of like final part of that question was like, hey, what was the decision-making process on going to peak every time? Obviously it paid off. Like what was your drop strategy? Like you had evaluated everybody's VODs. What was your strat though?
Well, we were going peak no matter what. We were expecting TBE, Breadman's team to go there, but
they did go there map 1, I believe. They ran into you. Yeah, they
did. But no matter what, we were going peak because our pretty much whole strat was on peak, because my Apple, of course, he's gonna win the heli race every time.
Sure.
Soka, best pilot out there, he just goes in the plane and gets the pings off the enemies, and that actually helps a lot, because me and my Apple would be in a fight 2v3, and then just like couple seconds we just have like a ping on each character, which helped us a lot, win a lot of fights. And peak is middle of the map, it's so high up, we could rotate anywhere without like running into another team.
And not a lot of teams wanted to go anywhere near you, right?
Yeah.
As we saw, especially in that opening. So you've explained that peak drop strategies with planes, pings, everything else. Talk about what was your specific perk strategy and the build of your individual setups once you were getting things like loadouts? What contracts were you gunning your way toward to give yourselves that consistency? Because maps 1 and 2 are a little rough, but then you just ran away with it.
Oh, well, at first during the quals I was using the ZRG, but then I switched to Granko because that's overpowered. So I would say I was kind of the main sniper. My Apple, give him an SMG and he would push anyone and come up top. And Soka, he does it all. Everything me and my Apple do, and the IQ and Strats. And the builds, I was running cold-blooded for combat scout, of course overkill. We always got ghost too, and amped for
Gotcha.
the fast weapon swap.
Gotcha. So like base strategy outside of kind of information gathering, which that was something that was definitely called out on main too, of like, hey, this, if you're not utilizing the planes for information gathering, it's a huge miss. I mean, you have like a baby personal UAV and you could ping everybody. Like it's gold mine. Like you don't even need to shoot anybody with the plane. Just run around, gain a bunch of information, and then, you know, play as a team. So base entry strategy was like, hey, you know, obviously you've got Mayappa playing like front man, and then you're trying to pick up a pick from distance, so you guys would have player advantage going into those fights.
Yep, exactly.
Got it.
How did you guys utilize foresight when it came to these maps?
Well, honestly, foresight was huge, but that was a plan, but not our main plan, because we only want to grab foresight if the zone is completely covered our back, because we didn't want to get picked off. But a couple games, since no one landed at peak, we easily got it. And first two games we kind of played too aggressive and we didn't get the placement. Actually, game one I dev-aired, so
Yikes.
my Apple and Soka
doesn't help.
Yeah, they still got 16 points.
Yeah, you dev-air, but you have 16 kills, which was one of the highest kill amounts, with 17th place, which was too shy, as you said, of that multiplier. Map 2, 10 kills in 22nd place.
Yep. After that, Soka called trick time, and that was all three of us sniping.
Oh,
all
okay.
Three using Garanko.
All Garanko. Okay, talk to me about, was that something that you guys had in your back pocket? Was like, all right, if these go to crap, plan B, everybody goes Garanko. What was secondary for most of y'all?
Secondary plan?
No. Secondary weapon behind the Garanko.
I think everyone was using Arma, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Because I think that's the best sniper support you could get. It's good medium range. Like the PPSH, it fries, but if you have a guy one shot behind a rock, I'd rather have an Arma.
Yeah. So we saw a lot of people running Garanko. It had a pretty high, pick, obviously, because it has this insane bullet velocity, and as long as you can get used to it, it's twisted. And you can almost and I think this is where you're about to go with this. Like, talk to me about the trick strat. Like, talk to me about the sniper Arma. Why you guys went for the triple snipe there? Is it just because the gun's twisted, or is it like, hey, we are comfortable using this weapon at even like medium close range as well?
Well, it was like, all throughout the quals, I would get a pick, and we're like, dude, like, what if we just all three just get picks? Like, we would, it would be easy, because people, as soon as you see a sniper glint, you kind of, freak out. You don't want to get one shot. Yeah. So that, we definitely just took advantage of just having three snipers and literally covering all the ground around us.
Was there anyone? Okay. I was going to say, was there anyone who was more uncomfortable with sniping? But rather, I want to know, who do you think's the best sniper on your team?
I got to say myself.
Yeah.
I'm like...
you were slated in that spot, so that makes sense.
I was supposed to be the main sniper, and I think that was for a reason. But with the Garanko, it is easy to use, but it's kind of weird at first. You got to get used to the gun for sure.
Yeah, I saw the kind of value of the Garanko come through. I mean, some people were hitting long range shots with it. There's no question, but the value came from, hey, it's got a decent ADS time. If you find a headshot even at mid close range, it's not that hard to hit. I mean, you just kind of put the crosshairs on their head and pull the trigger. There's not a ton of leading you have to do. And the fire rate's pretty fast.
Yeah.
So if you miss, you just keep throwing them down, right? And then it's still a one-shot headshot. So when you guys were kind of running around with Trick 101, as the chat's calling it, of the three Garankos, was it, hey, we want to take fights a little bit slower. Once we get the pick, we push a little bit closer with Armas, or is it just pick and thirst, and then all of a sudden we look down, we've got 8 eliminations?
Well, I would say probably pick and first, but honestly, with the Garanko, with our ZRG, we kind of played more passive, but with the Garanko, we played full aggressive, because just you have a 3 to 6x scope and 10 shots of mag.
Yeah.
So we were just playing pretty much full on aggressive all game.
Well, and it really begins to make a difference. Case in point, right? The highest kills we saw for a team that took first place at the time was 20 kills and first in EU from Vortex's team that went on to win the trios portion. You get to map 3, and I remember we were waiting I'd been talking about you on desk and was like waiting for Hisoka's team to really start warming up. And you end it with 21 kills and first place, which is massive. I think going into map 4, it skyrocketed you into like 2nd or 3rd place or something like that. And then in map 4, you go, that was great to be the highest overall kills for first. Let's break our own record and drop 29 kills.
Yeah. Yes,
and also the only team to go back-to-back wins in either of the finals. So was it that 101? Did you guys just hit your stride and it was all momentum?
I think that's exactly what happened. First 2 games, of course, game 1 butterflies, game 2 okay, but then like let's just play. Like we've been playing customs, let's just do our thing. We got more comfortable and we just did what we did. Like that's how we play. Just pure domination.
Yeah, I was going to say that game 4 was a big one. I mean, you guys kind of had set the record in customs thus far of like 56, I believe, was your biggest game, 28 kills and a win during the qualifiers. And then you guys dropped the 58. That map, obviously, you hit your flow state. Obviously, you felt it going. Was there a point in that map where you're like, oh, this is the one? We're about to just full send? Or was it kind of just a grind all the way through and you look up and you're like, oh, we have 29 kills? What the heck?
Well, so we had Foresight that game, and I don't know, we had a couple kills. We had Foresight pop the advanced UAV, and with advanced, we usually go after the non-team of 3. So we usually pick up the solos or duos. And Fields was insane. Like, so many guys were at Fields, but on top of tens, that little left corner with that head glitch, we wanted to secure that spot. Like, we were in that spot for probably 10 minutes, probably even longer, and we ended up with 29 kills. Yeah, like we just held that down.
Well, and you're consistently at this point, as we said, you're getting back-to-back first places, but your main competitor and the team that was really dominating almost from the get-go was Biffle, Repulse, and Super Evan almost 1v3s in map 1 over OP Mark's team. They placed second, first, second, third, and then you get to map 5, and I'm not exactly sure what went horribly wrong, but they got 35th with only 2 kills. When you were getting to first circles, what was it like going up against them? Because we know the firepower, they had so much consistency.
We wanted them out of the game. So if we were to fight them, we wanted to make sure we secured the dub on them. And we can't really play too slow, because in customs, like if you're in a long fight, you're gonna get third partied. So of course with the 3 Garankos, like just try to get one pick and go off from that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think the biggest thing that was, it wasn't really stated as much on main. It was more so during the quals that we noticed was player advantage was everything. Like if you had player advantage and you have that pick, like you full send, which makes a ton of sense why you guys went after the solos and duos with the advanced UAV, because it's like those are on paper free kills, right? Odd circumstances, you might lose one in the process, but you're going to find team wipes there, which is huge for your team and racking up those kills. Really cool to hear the strats. I mean, anything else during the finals that you wanted to talk about? Like, is there any other tricks up your sleeves? Any other strategies maybe you didn't implement? Was there a plan C if trick 101 didn't work? Like, anything else you guys had kind of prepped that you didn't end up using?
Well, there were a couple OP spots we had in mind, but like we were never in the situation to use them, because honestly I never seen people in these spots before. Like I was gonna use it in the solo YOLO, and honestly if it landed peak the spot, I would have won it. That's how OP the spot is.
I don't know if there's massive tournaments. Are we allowed to know?
Okay, since we won, okay, I'll tell you.
It's up to you.
So what, when you go down peak by the air balloon, you could there's a little rock you could sit on top of the wall, like on the cave. So like right below the ledge, but you're completely hidden. It's insane. I never seen anyone in that.
I love this, GOJJ, because this is what happens in CDL too. When you get to champs, is these weird spots that people squirrel away into their pocket for that final event. How long did it take you to even find something like that?
it was completely on accident. I think Soka, we were playing a game of pubs, and he pulled his shoot too early and on the game, and he hit the wall, and he just stayed there. He's like, oh my god, look at my spot, look at my spot. I don't know if he was streaming. If he was, I think he like hit his screen.
Yeah.
But, like,
Smart.
It was completely on accident, that spot.
So yeah, and that was part of your preparation. It was like, hey, we're gonna VOD review, which was the big thing that I'm sure like some of the teams were doing, of like, let's VOD review not only our VODs but also everyone else's VODs, figure out where they're dropping in all these scrims and customs so we know where to go. But the second thing you said was, hey, we also played pubs where we didn't go for kills, we just looked for spots where, hey, what's the best spot that overlooks fields? If the circle goes here, what's the best spot for us to hold? What's the best high ground spot? What's the best whatever? And then you find random spots like that, and you're like, hey, keep that in the back pocket. Because that's the thing with prep, regardless of the type of prep, you're not going to use everything, but it totally depends on the situation and what's given to you. I love that, man. I love the fact that you guys not only put in the work and the time, but then it paid off in the end. Like a clean sweep, something that was like, honestly, borderline improbable, because you guys could have gotten 5th or 6th in the closed customs and it wouldn't have changed anything. But you guys full sent all 3 rounds and you came out on top all 3 rounds. Really, really cool.
Yep.
So oh, sorry, go ahead.
My bad. We do have a couple more tricks, like you know how everyone usually runs the same skin. We kind of went different from that, used different skins, and since I was using sniping, we would we never got to use this, but we would just swap weapons completely. Because like I have a different sniping, like I play a different sniper than Huskerrs plays when he's sniping. So it's like it literally just like they're playing against a different team now since we just swap weapons completely.
Dude, the mind games too. I mean, that's
you
brilliant.
have layers.
I'm here
To what you guys did.
I'm so here for that.
You mentioned this earlier, and what you said made me think of it. Going into another World Series of Warzone, if your team was invited as a trio to the finals, would you accept that, or would you prefer to get the reps in and go through a qual?
I honestly thought about this last night, to be honest. I think, well, like Swag played the quals also. Of course, and you can't play the customs.
Yeah,
but,
he played
like,
open, yeah.
I feel like if we were, I think we would take the invite, but I think we would still play the quals just for game time and
the open quals. Yeah, that's the thing though. Like I feel like the custom quals were such a big part to y'all's success though. You know, so many good reps even against like pretty solid teams, and you can run scrims at night and stuff, but there's not as much like buy-in there, you know. Golly, that's super interesting. I love to hear these types of strats behind the scenes because we can only see so much from main broadcast when you guys are frying. So you had some of your tricks you didn't use. I guess last thoughts on this. I mean, what's next in terms of competitiveness? I mean, you guys have slammed World Series of Warzone. I mean, absolutely just obliterated everybody. And if anybody disagrees with that, you're wrong, because you were uncontested all the way through all 3 rounds, which is sick. I assume this trio is like, yo, it's us till the end. But what's next? Are you guys going to run CDLR as well, Split II? Is that the plan?
Yeah, we do want to run that. Definitely gonna be playing more Fortune's Keep. So find the trick spots and develop our own tricks.
That's amazing.
Well, you've laid the foundation, right? I think the key takeaway from this is that a lot of teams just go into it and say, well, we'll see how we do. You know, I feel like we've got a great squad on paper and we'll see how it plays out. This is by far the most preparation, research, VOD review that I have ever seen a team do in something like this. And it seems like GOJJ, I wonder if it sets some sort of kind of standard, right? Of hearing this and seeing how dominant you guys were. Are other teams gonna have that motivation the way you guys did to put in that effort?
Yeah, and I think, Skull, I'd love to hear your opinion on that. Like I know there's a lot of other teams that were grinding. Like obviously TBE, they wanted to win, but they didn't have the absolute like dig in the dirt mentality that you guys had of like, we're taking this, because
they were not hungry.
Well, they've done it a billion times, but for you guys, this is like, hey, we are proving ourselves. Were there other teams? I know you mentioned Braxton, like other teams that you were mostly concerned about because of how much they were putting in the work as well.
Well, I'm sure teams were doing VOD reviews, practicing. But I think what just separated us is just we didn't want to just go in and just play a normal BR. That's why the tricks we had, we wanted to just change the playing field. Like we want to make it uncomfortable for other teams to even play against us. So we're just trying just weird little strats that don't really 3 snipers on a team. That why would that happen? But it worked out because no one's used to playing 3 snipers in a custom.
Yeah. No, and I think it goes even back to we were talking with Hisoka about his competitive background in football and his family's background in that. And when you start thinking about other sports as well, I coach as well, and there's always times where we're trying to play the mental games, whether or not that's the optimal strat. It can mentally uncheck a lot of teams from their strat, making them pivot, think on the fly, and that's where you can kind of take advantage of them. I want to move on, Katie, and start kind of going that direction. If you're good with this, we've talked World Series of Warzone. Excited about CDLR and what you guys are going to be able to do. I'm sure we'll check back in with you on that. Talk to me a little bit about your background in gaming and your background in maybe anything else competitive. I mean, what got you into competitive from the gaming side, Warzone and otherwise?
Well, honestly, I never thought I would be competing or even streaming. I just wanted to play hockey but of course COVID happened. I was still playing video games more now because of the lockdown, but I was still practicing hockey because that was my main focus. But then Barstool, my brother showed me a tweet about Barstool doing a tryout Tuesday for Call of Duty, and I said, why not? I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
So I tried it out. Of course, I didn't compete. So it was a 1v1, and you're playing with the Barstool guys. And the guns, I was using my HDR and sniper. I was still frying, but I could have, if I had my Grau, I would have been better.
Yeah.
But just playing with that and playing with them, I didn't make it because it was a qualifier. Well, it was a tryout to play an MFAM gauntlet. I didn't make the team, but they really liked me because just my personality is just fun playing with. Still good at the game.
Yeah, sure.
So they kind of brought me into streaming because then I just started streaming more and more. And down the road, I don't know how I met at the boys, but I started playing 2v2 with Pain on CMG. And just after that, every day that I'm just grinding 2v2s, $5 chows, the midnight 5 creds.
Yeah.
10 creds, just anything, just play 2v2s. And I really enjoyed it because I want to be the best. I never thought I would be competing, but it just happened. It's just I'm so competitive.
That's super cool.
Was there kind of a moment, you say it was unexpected, COVID, your focus was hockey, but you're starting to do better and better, playing with wars and so on, the CMGs. Was there a moment where it just kind of became that itch under your skin where it was never an intention, but you were suddenly I want to do this. I want to win. I see everyone else competing, and yes, now I've gotten a taste of it. I want more.
As soon as I started doing 2v2s, I lost a bunch. The first time me and Payne played, we came in second. I accidentally crashed our vehicle in the storm, so we lost. But to be honest, on my part, Payne did say don't crash, and that made me crash.
Sure,
that's all I'm saying.
Sure. Got into the mental.
I'm you jinxed it. But just that group right there, Payne, Soka, Liam, Pro Routes, Shifty, is just all competitive 2v2 players. That's the only thing they think about and do, just 2v2s. I want to be the best, and I just got that mentality from them. Is I really want to do this, and I want to prove myself that I can hang with these guys.
Yeah, that's super cool to hear. And I think that's a kind of a same story as a lot of people. It's hey, I kind of came up in these CMGs or whatever, these small little wagers, and I found some competitiveness there. But we've also heard this story 6-7 times now of, hey, I was in sports before. So how long had you been playing hockey? I mean, I've got a lot of good friends that play a ton of hockey. Some of the kids I mentor played a ton of hockey and got really good. And it's a fun sport, but it's a super competitive sport.
Yeah.
And you got a lot of you got to have a lot of drive to fully succeed in hockey, obviously. So that's part of your DNA. Talk to me about that.
I started playing hockey when my brother played a year before me because the Blackhawks won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
So like everyone's talking about the Blackhawks, and next year I decided to play hockey. Why not? And I don't I don't know what year that was when they won, but ever since I was playing baseball too and other sports, but hockey was just my main sport. Because like I thought like, okay, I want to go to college for hockey. Just then high school, I played high school hockey. It's just pretty much that was like the only thing on my mind, just hockey, and video games just a hobby.
Yeah.
Okay, we've already talked about Dr. Pepper earlier in this stream, but someone just came in to chat and it made me chuckle, so I have to ask. How much do you love baked ziti?
I love baked ziti. My Mama Skull makes the best baked ziti. It's so good.
These are the questions that I need from chat. Thank you.
We started doing baked ziti. Like I would invite all my boys over. We all wear track suits and stuff, and just gather around the table and just have baked ziti.
Sure.
That's so great.
Just a great time.
Where did the Dr. Pepper come from? Obviously, it's a staple in your brand. So talk to me about that.
I just been drinking Dr. Pepper ever since I was a kid. It's just the best drink. It's the best drink out there. No other drink competes with it.
Sure.
It's just amazing.
Do you use Dr. Pepper for not only taste in the 23 flavors, I think?
23 flavors,
yeah.
Yes.
Is it a caffeine intake as well, or are you a caffeine a hoarder like some of these other gamers, or what's your I guess let me rephrase this. What's your game day ritual? Like, do you have a ritual? Do you got your lucky socks? Do you got gotta have a Dr. Pepper and a half before? Like, what's your ritual?
I don't drink as much Dr. Pepper now. I still do. COVID, I gathered because I kept all the boxes. I think I had over 40 boxes.
Oh, good Lord. Okay.
Not good, but the shirt I wear yesterday, the blue shark shirt. I didn't realize it at first, but I'm like, wait, this is every tournament I won. I think I was wearing this shirt. So like, for now on, that blue shark shirt, tourney day comes, I'm wearing that shirt.
Okay.
That's my lucky charm.
We touched on that a little bit before. I'm so glad you brought it back up, right? Because it seems like not everyone, but a decent amount of players have these sort of rituals. Like, case in point, FIFA has his lucky socks, and I saw those in person up close. They're weather worn, shall we say? But you have this shirt too, right? And I feel like, GOJJ, when I first started learning about Skull, his wardrobe and your outfits, your shirts were kind of my immediate. I was like, most gamers are like, I have a hoodie on and sweats or joggers, and they're either black or gray. And you're coming out with the colors and the patterns and like the button ups, and I feel like I could take you right now and like put you with a pina colada at the beach too.
Yep. I just like wearing nice shirts. Like, I don't know, it's just something different. I just like the button ups.
Yeah, sure.
I just try to get cool, funny shirts, and just like, I don't know, just they're funny and cool. That's pretty much it.
I respect it. Hey, everybody's got their thing. Everybody's got their pregame rituals. Before I do any tournament as a caster, I drink coffee in the shower. It's my thing every single time. I'm sipping some hot coffee while I'm taking a shower, and it's a good time, and it gets me right in the right mental. So everybody's got their thing. Blue shark shirt, or a couple Dr. Peppers, maybe a Stogie after. I was looking back through, and we'll kind of finish up around here, but I was looking back through your pictures. I was trying to find a picture of you for the kind of promo post about this podcast. I couldn't find one anywhere. You don't post pictures of yourself on Twitter, by the way. You should do that more often. The last one you have posted of yourself was you smoking a stogie, I believe, after winning. I don't even remember. Was it the Baka Bros or not? Years before that? I don't even know what you won, but it was a long time ago. It was like January or before.
What was it, a TV2 tournament?
I don't even remember. I just saw you were. It's the iconic picture of you where you're sitting at that like the lawn furniture, and you're like lean way back. Oh, you're like way over here, and you got the stogie, and the smoke's like covered up most of your face. That's the one I'm thinking of.
That was I'm not sure what tournament that was, but that was the first tournament me and Flanked paired up as a duo, and we beat Tommy and Almond in the finals. And in that photo, I have the blue shark shirt on.
Hey,
I
there
do.
you go.
Back to the
Lock it
blue
in.
shirts. All right, GOJJ, we need to keep moving, but someone actually over in Skull's chat had a great question. Talk to us about that snipe onto Tim. That was on main broadcast. That was far away. Talk about when you hit that snipe.
I have what 10 shots, so let's just beam away. Like there's no way I'm missing all 10. I have to hit one, and I hit TimTheTatMan because he's TimTheTatMan. I'm unluckiest player in Warzone. Yeah, it just had to be Tim. If it was anyone else, it wouldn't happen. I feel like.
Sure. Yeah, it's just you had to hit it, and that's the thing about the Gorenko though, man. That is like so good about it. You just keep throwing bullets down range. Eventually, one's gonna connect. Like just put it on the freaking front passenger seat or the driver's seat, and just keep pulling the trigger until that guy goes down. It's crazy dumb. No, I loved it. That was iconic. That will definitely live in infamy in the kind of World Series of Warzone clips. Okay, anything else we didn't? Let's see. I'm looking back through our chat. Anything we didn't talk to you about? Any other, like, I saw somebody say camo grind, like anything that is like your history that you want to tell before we kind of wrap up the interview?
Well, when Vanguard started, I did the camo grind just so I could have the camo for Caldera.
Yeah.
And I wasn't expecting a race first for it. I'm like, I just want to get it done on the way. But more people started coming to my chats like, you're actually ahead of Breed Boy and Metaphor right now in the camo race.
Oh.
I'm like, really? So I just honestly, like, it was terrible, but honestly, probably the most fun I ever had playing COD. I would literally just wake up, play 20 hours straight, go back to bed, and rinse and repeat. And for the last day, it was I think Metaphor just stopped playing, so it was me and Reed Boyd head to head, and I'm like, I cannot fall asleep. If I fall asleep, Reed Boyd's gonna beat me. So I stayed up 48 hours just so I could beat him, and I did. There's a photo of me on 48 hours. There's a photo on me on Twitter. I was dead. I was after it 40. I honestly I felt sick. I was so cold. I had 2 jackets on, and I swear I was seeing things. Like I thought my mom came down to give me food, and I was like, I look, she's not even there. She's at work. I'm like, what am I seeing, bro? Like I had to wear, I have like 3D glasses from the movie theaters. I had to put them on because my eyes were hurting.
Oh my god!
Wow.
But you ended up being the first to finish the camo grind in front of Reed Boy, which is impressive because that dude is a freak of nature.
Yeah, he's a grinder.
Yeah, he's an absolute animal. So that's part of your story as well. That is really, really cool. I didn't even know that. I don't know how I missed that on the timeline.
I didn't know that either.
Busy with something else, I guess. I have no clue. 48 hours straight. That is definitely when you start seeing things, by the way. It's like post 48 hours, you start having legit hallucinations because your body's like, we have to go to bed.
But after that, I think I slept 18 hours, and I woke up completely fine. I'm like, okay, I'm not touching that game until Caldera comes out.
Yeah.
Till I gotta stomp everyone in the World Series of Warzone. But okay, so you get this win, and it's really an incredible bow. And this is what Hisoka was talking about. A bow that has been put on the come up for Hisoka, Mayapo, and yourself, especially in Caldera, and where it places you guys in earnings and people's minds as contenders. So what is next for you? Where do you want to go for this? What are your plans for Warzone 2, building your brand? What are your plans?
Oh, right now my plans is just, of course, like I definitely gotta keep streaming right now. Like I don't know what, like thank God that CDL tournament, the Fortune's Keep one is happening. Because like I would just probably just hop on for pub. It's just nothing to really grind. But for Modern Warfare 2, I just wanna just take it over with everything. Like I do like some content. I've been on and off on it, but like mostly, but at least I'm doing some. So I just want to, when Modern Warfare 2 comes out, I just want to be just consistent throughout content, competing. Also getting first in the camo race again. I'm going to try to do that again this year.
Okay.
Should be fun.
Talk about good content.
Should be fun, and just, I'll just elevate my game and my stream, just whatever it takes.
Yeah. Great answer. Great answer. I love it. We're really excited for you and for the future of your trio, for the future of your competitive career. I think from this story and everything you've told us, it is very clear that it is the competitive nature fueled into the grind mentality, fueled into how do we win, what does it take to win, and you guys were able to execute that. So a cool story all the way through, and excited to see what happens next for you, Skull. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask you one more question, and I think this is going to start be my staple final question instead of leading with this. To end it all, where did Skullface the name come from?
Modern Warfare 2 Ghost. I don't know how young I was, but I didn't know his name. And it's pretty simple. He has a skull as a face, so Skullface. It's pretty that simple. 49, I have no idea where the 49 came from.
Yeah, you just picked a number randomly.
Sure.
I'm here for it. So you've had Skullface for a long time. Well, Skullface, really appreciate you coming on, man. It was a ton of fun to talk about World Series of Warzone. I love the tricks. I love the different strats. I love the grind. I love that you guys have kind of put in the time to make this happen, and it really did pay off for you. So congratulations again. And we're looking forward to seeing you the next time we can have you on the pod.
Can't wait.
All right, brother.
Have a good one.
Yeah,
Thank you
too.
for having me.
Yeah, peace. Oh man. All right. Boom. Katie, that was fun. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't think I've ever had Dr. Pepper before. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Really?
No, I don't. I could not tell you. I don't drink soda. So
fair.
Such a Dr. Pepper stan. I was like, no idea what those 23 flavors taste like.
I think, I'm not a huge, soda person either, but of all the sodas, I do stand with Dr. Pepper. There's a lot of flavor there. 23 flavors, and you can taste them all. Not
do
taste the rainbow.
23 flavors?
You do. Yeah, you do. You really do to kind of fit the bill. Yeah, you're really missing out on a lot of things here. But regardless, again, huge shout out to Skullface for winning World Series of Warzone. $50,000 split between three of them is like $16,600 something
66.
odd. Yeah, dollars. Rounded up to 67. Let's be very clear. Huge congratulations to them, and thanks again for coming on. It's cool to have the same team back to back and hear both sides of the coin. What happens if you win, and then hey, you've won, now what kind of thing. Really, really interesting. But we're not done yet. There's a lot to talk about. Okay, we've got a lot more. Our Shitters Digest section is packed full. Of course, CDLR right around the corner and otherwise. But I've got to give a huge shout out and take some time here to go through the Kolosseum stat chat, because this has been one of our favorite segments of the podcast all the way through the last several weeks now, Katie. They've been a fantastic sponsor for us, and they were popping off on Twitter during World Series of Warzone. Yeah. They ran a World Series of Warzone specific fantasy contest. If you don't know who Kolosseum is, they run a Warzone streamer fantasy contest every week, a number of them. There's a freebie Friday every Friday. And they did the one for the World Series of Warzone, and you could win up to, I think it actually got doubled up to like $300 based on your fantasy teams that you built. So you've got your budget, and you could buy different streamers with your budget based on their past stats. And you could pick from the World Series of Warzone competitors and build a team. And we have some people that, won money during that. We had people in the chat. And then I saw a lot of our friends on the timeline building teams for World Series of Warzone, which was super cool to see. And they gave us some stats yet again from World Series of Warzone for us to kind of talk through here for the stat chat with Kolosseum. And again, exclamation point sponsor in the chat, exclamation point Kolosseum. We'll pull up their information. And if you're on the YouTube or you're on the podcast, it's down in the descriptions below. Go check them out. They're really, really cool. Let's take a look at it. Oh, that's your face. Let's go here. How about that? Boom. There we go. Here are the top KDs from the World Series of Warzone. This is NA Finals only. Look at Watch Waldo. My man. The grinder. This is one of kind of the underrated teams that crept through the finals kind of unsolicited, and I think they got like 7th. I mean, they were frying. Dropped like a 13 kill game to end off the series. He was the top KD at 3.38. Second's actually Skullface, who we just had on, of course, at 3.29. And then there was a 3-way tie at 3.0 KD between 5 custom games with Aiden, Hisoka, and Tyranix. And there you go, right, Katie? That's the prime example of how do you win? Oh, you get a lot of kills and you don't die a lot. And 2 of your 3 players are on this list.
And it makes sense, right? Usually when you get to the end of a tournament like this and you look at stats like this, you can usually make a fairly good guess, Coach, if you didn't see the tournament, on what team won.
Yeah.
If you see multiple members of one team dominating on the top of stat lines, in this case, Hisoka and Skullface, genuinely very, very impressive from them. What's also impressive, though, as a side note, is the fact that we did have Super Evan's team come in second. None of them are on this KD-wise, but they were. They were very much so in the lead for a very long time.
Yeah, I can't imagine they were very far behind that 3.0 metric, but let's keep rocking and rolling. Here are the top player kills. Now, Meapo started off super strong. Remember, they had to play duos to start.
12, I think?
He had 12 in the first map and ended up with 33, was on pace, and then that last map really set him back because they went down a little bit earlier than they would have wanted. But 33 for Meapo, that was the top player kills overall. This is only our 5 matches, not including the solo YOLO, but the top player overall between EU or NA. I believe Juki's tied at the top of EU at 30. And then you had Biffle, Super Evan, both at 29, who were on the same team. And then you had TimTheTatMan, Aiden, and Watch Waldo at 27, Hisoka at 24, Skullface at 23. So you can see top player kills. There's all 3 of your players on the same list. Pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool indeed. Extremely impressive from them. And that's why we talk about the work pays off. I do not believe they are on these lists in such a dominant fashion if they did not put in the massive amount of time and effort leading into this final.
No, I totally agree. Next, here's some other stats here. Average placement in Braxton. Shout out to Brimponics. Braxton's team did fantastic. And they were consistently inside the top 10. They were getting the most player every single time. Average placement through the whole tournament was 9th. The most kills in one match was 13. A number of people had 12, including Meapo, but it was Waldo's last map that really set him apart at 13. He also had the most headshots that map at 5.
Wow.
And then Gulag wins. It looks like Shifty and Sway went to the Gulag a number of times, came out most of the time at a total of 6 in 5 maps, which is pretty solid.
Going to the gulag in a custom like this is scary. It's usually a gulag you are going to want to go to early because that's usually when maybe some of the easier kills are going to be in there with you. I would not. I saw Jobo go in once, and he ended up going in against Aiden, and I was like, oh, Godspeed.
Yeah, I think it was Queen Shadows that said, of course, my gulag that I go to is against Scump. It's like,
I saw that, yeah.
Are you winning a 1v1 against Scump? Probably not. Let's keep it going. So these are the actual fantasy points from the World Series Warzone. So it's like, hey, if you were able to pay for these people based on your budget, these are the people you wanted. Pretty much correlates, of course, with who's at the top of the leaderboard. You had Super Evan at the very top at 61. This is based off average placement with the eliminations, etc. Biffle at 53, Skullface 53, Hisoka at 54, Aiden 42, and TyRonics at 40. And the way they do their points, they outline it all, but it's like, hey, if you have a death, then you go down, a gulag loss, you go down, kill up, placement up, those types of things. It's like a traditional kind of sports fantasy, just for esports, for Warzone. So pretty solid.
Yeah, pretty solid indeed. Very impressive once again, and no surprise to see 2 out of the 3 of that trio sitting here.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, like, Biffle costs way more than maybe, Watch Waldo, who nobody would have bet on, but he would have been a great choice as well. Could have probably been in the high 30s and probably cost your overall budget little to nothing. Okay, our over-unders to finalize our Kolosseum stat chat. And before we get into some crazy Shitters Digest, bada bing, bada boom. My strategy paid off last time. If you didn't see the Kolosseum stat chat last time, yes, Katie and I did all the same predictions besides one. And I was right on that one. So we are now officially tied up 13-13. And this is a big moment for us, Katie.
I have an objection. No, I have an objection.
Sure,
because I've been leading this whole time based on only the information in the moment given to me. And I can never see any of the prior stats after that ends, while you have access to all of it.
What are you talking about?
So I think that means, even though we're tied, I clearly have the bigger brain.
Sure, you are up by 0.1 of a point. How about that?
I'll take it.
Let's finish this up really quickly. Let's kind of hop through this. And over under 51 most kills per game. Now that we're post World Series of Warzone, people are going to be headed over to Fortune's Keep. What are your thoughts? Over under most kills in a single match in this next week.
Oh, I always say over.
Going over?
If it's anything in the low 50s, I'm always going to say over, especially now that 100K has just been announced too.
Sure.
You don't have that focus on things like Caldera right now. I really think it's going to be over.
Okay, I will go over as well. Most kills, and this is in all matches in a week, over under 2,500. Who's going to be leading the pack? Is it going to be over 2,500 for them or under 2.5? It was 2.7 last week.
Dang, I'm saying over.
You're going over. I will go under. I'm going to go under on this one. People are going to take 1 week off before they start grinding Fortune's Keep. We're going to go highest average kills in all of their matches over the week. Average kills, even the maps that you chalk, over under 18.
Nice average. Averages are so tricky with
I
things
believe
like
in
this. Thanks, Coach. Thank you for that. I'm gonna say under.
Under. I will say under as well. I'm going to follow your lead there. And then finally, most victories. This is total victories in a week, by the way. At 84 was last week. They're saying over under 85 this week.
Oh, that's hard. Look, I always say over for everything, so I'll just shot in the dark and say under.
Okay, I was going to say under. So we paired up on most. I will probably go up ahead by one on this next one, but that's just me. Hey, that has been our Kolosseum Stat Chat. Make sure you go check them out at Kolosseum.co. You can see the link in the chat. !sponsor. They're amazing. You can actually use code BOTLOBBY to actually get some like in-game credits, in fantasy game credits for you to enter into some of their paid contests. And then there are the Friday freebies every single week where you can win up to like $150 as the prize pools for those. You can win whenever your streamers, your favorite Warzone streamers win. It's super, super cool. Go check them out. We've had a lot of friends in the industry and a lot of even players were betting on themselves and betting on the other players for their fantasy teams based on the budgets that were given. Super, super cool contest. Excited about the next one. And I think behind the scenes, by the way, I think I can link this. There's going to be the same type of contest for the CDLR Split II that we're going to talk about in just a moment. So again, go check out Kolosseum. They've been nothing but amazing to work with for the podcast.
Well, we love that. GOJJ, I think we might be remiss in something because we don't have it in the Shitters Digest portion, but I feel like we should probably touch on it at least a bit, is the solo YOLO, because we didn't really talk about that with Skullface. But yes, before we get in, we have a lot in Shitters Digest, but the solo YOLO winners was Blade from the EU side of things. Blade was also in the trios team that won everything. So that's a great day. You're winning about 116, almost 117 $1,000 in that. It came down to a Riot Shield 1v1 on the beach. Jukies unfortunately took third place there. He did not have any of the tactics, utility, and he didn't have any resources at his disposal, was forced out by the storm, was completely exposed, did not have a Riot Shield, and was taken down. But it's the NA portion that had a significantly wilder ending, and I believe it was Swag who got third, and Pieman who got second, and I almost said Juki's FIFA Kill who took first place with the most 1,000 IQ never-ending storm play up into a redeploy balloon.
Yeah. I will say this too about that play, and we won't spend a ton of time here, but as part of Shitters Digest, it's worth discussing because he jumped up by $100,000 winning that, by the way, right? He's up to top 5. He was already like on top 5 earn. Now he's the leading earner in Caldera by over $50,000 above Almond because of this 100K win. But it was a five head play because he was in the gas for a long time. He hit the redeploy balloon, and he even said it, and Iceman Isaac said it as well after while watching the VOD, which was super funny. I'm pulling an Iceman Isaac because what Ice did during the solo YOLO drop of the 100K Optic event was I'm going to hit in the plane and basically just circle around until I'm top 3, and I'm going to float as long as possible. FIFA was in the gas, hiding, hits the redeploy balloon, and floats above everyone for quite some time. It's then FIFA floating, Swag on the ground, Pieman in a car on the ground. Pie and Swag getting an encounter. FIFA has dropped and landed, sees the fight going on, and starts pushing up on the equation. You see Pie take down Swag, but Pie is weak, right? Shoulder otherwise, and then FIFA gets the high ground and makes the play and gets the elimination. So huge win for FIFA. Super, super well done, of course, strategy-wise, but also exciting for him because they were down bad. I mean, they really didn't perform at all. Yeah, they didn't. No. They got 15th, I think, overall in
they got 15th. They didn't really, they had nothing to show for it, right? And keep in mind, all of them were in LA, in Long Beach, playing with each other. 12-hour flight from home for FIFA. He disconnected in map 5 of the trios portion, which actually would have, at the pace that was being set, been by far their best map because Joe and Bread went on as a duo to actually accumulate a large amount of kills. I think they got 7th when Jowo ended up falling to be eliminated. He told me, I asked him, I was down really bad. It was chalked. I remember out of the corner of my eye, I watched him throw down his headset and get up mid-map and walk away, and we watched him drop off the team. And that's to go from such heartache to such joy. And especially to have your two teammates there with you, right? They've played so many trios together. They are good friends. Jowo told me he broke his Astro headset throwing it on the table so hard as he ran to hug FIFA when he won. Yeah,
because he was so excited. Yeah, no, 100%. And that's, you know, it's obviously the camaraderie that trio has and the chemistry that trio has that is so valuable, and why they're so good. And it was tough to see. Now, I was going to mention this as well. The rest of the solo Yolo was also chaos and part of the Shitter's Digest for a couple of reasons. One, saw this. Hisoka killed Skullface, which is hilarious. Right. We watched that happen, and Skull was freaking out. He was like, "Are you kidding me?" And Hisoka didn't even blink. He didn't say a word. He was so locked in. I don't even know if you noticed. It was so funny. But then the other crazy thing that happened during solo Yolo was, unfortunately, Rated is hiding in a building in a god spot in the final circle. He's top 5, top 7 or something like that. And I believe it was either a cluster or a precision airstrike that comes in and kills him through the building. And like, we already know Rated gets tilted, but like the main broadcast swung away, and I was like, I think he just broke his monitor in half. I think he picked it up and snapped it over his own head. He was so mad. And that's just pain and suffering. Like, there was a couple of moments like that where you're like, there's just nothing we could do about it. And solo Yolo was really like obviously a key part of that. I mean, Pieman was doing breathing exercises as he made it into top 3. You're playing for $100,000 in one map. Yeah. Like, you are panicking at these moments, right?
Everyone is. It does not matter how accomplished of a competitor you are in these scenarios. Yeah. It is so stressful. When FIFA came over to the desk with us, his hands were like shaking this bad. His whole body was shaking. He could not believe it. And this is a guy who's, how many times has he won tournaments, right? But there's something that is simply different about $100,000. You can rely on no one, certainly not Hisoka, except for yourself, to get yourself to the very, very end. And he was able to do it. It was kind of the third party, got some initial shots into Swag. Pieman finishes him off, and then you have the high ground on the rock to make it easy to shoot over the top of that riot shield. I cannot fathom that, nor would I want to. I'd probably just sit in a corner and scream the entire time.
Yeah, no, exactly. I would be raging into the night forever and ever. And I mean, Swag was so pissed because he was top 3 and he was almost there, able to take out Pieman, and Pie was doing some like switches in the car. It was crazy. But there's a lot more we want to talk about the World Series of Warzone in Shitter's Digest in particular. I mean, one of the big moments, honestly, the finals NA up until the last map nearly went off without a hitch. I mean, it was a very clean tournament, a very smooth tournament, which is, we all know, peculiar when it comes to Warzone tournaments. There's always something that happens, and unfortunately, there was always something that happened in this one as well. The final map, a number of people did disconnect, and now we don't know the total. The way, for background information, the way tournaments always operate, are that there are rules set in place for if X amount of people drop before X time in the map, we will reset the lobby. Did we hit that metric? No idea. I assume we didn't because they didn't reset. But we had 3 obviously influential people disconnect on the 5th map. Not solo Yolo, but the 5th map. We had Aiden, we had Z-Laner, and FIFA Kill. FIFA Kill's team arguably was not really in contention for the money. Z-Laner's team could have been. Aiden's team definitely was. Aiden's team ended up getting 4th. And of course, people were livid about that. Now, is there anything you can do? Yeah, you could have reset the map, obviously. Did they hit the rules that were stated beforehand? No idea. I as much as I was in the back end, to some degree, I wasn't that far in the back end. I don't know what the rule was. If they didn't hit it, it's kind of like a sucks to suck. That's Warzone. If they did hit it and it didn't reset, that's obviously a huge mistake and cost people potentially money, which sucks.
Yeah, it will absolutely cost people money, right? Because at least you're saying it, right? Faith's team, yeah, they weren't doing that great. They were, I think, in 15th going into it or whatever it may have been. But they were trying at least for top 10 because top 20 gets a payout. That payout is substantially going to go up, obviously, the better placing you have. They're trying for that top 10. Obviously chalked the moment Fief disconnects. Aiden's tweet just dead errored before anyone jumped out of the plane in the 300K while in 4th place. That's a massive moment, right? And I mean, in a way, selfishly, it's great news for any of the other teams in that top 3 contention, right? Because there's players that, it's out of your control and it sucks, but it does give you an advantage. But it was just a bummer to see it. And there's so much that goes on behind the scenes. I know they're trying to put on the most fair and equitable tournament they can. It is a bummer when you see things like that.
Yeah, no, 100%. And there was other disconnects. I mean, Skull mentioned he just disconnected the first map, and it's like, obviously that didn't hit a metric for them to reset. I think there was one reset during the normal games where it was either Scump or TimTheTatMan didn't make it in, and so they reset potentially just for them, which is where this conversation of like, okay, how important do you have to be for that? I don't know.
Not all resets are created equal, essentially.
And so, it's one of those things where you can only do so much, right? They're COD partners, they're whatever, they're somewhat faces of the tournament. But it is what it is. It happened how it happened. There's nothing you can do to change it now, but obviously it's frustrating for the people that it affected. Okay, continuing on with our Shitters Digest. Let's go into, I think the mental conversation is a fun one to have. This is when I was even getting kind of engaging on the timeline. When I did my picks of my top 5 picks, and to be honest, not all of my picks did well, but most of them did. When I was doing my picks, people were, not gaslighting me. I guess they were just flaming me just straight up, not even passively, saying, how are you not picking TPE? And then how are you not picking Flowo, who honestly, two of my favorite teams to watch, some of my favorite people in the industry too. I mean, Flowo, I love all 3 of those guys like brothers, and they've been super kind to me and propped them up. I just didn't put in my picks because I didn't see them locked in. I mean, they were playing on a LAN setup. They were in LA. They had been hanging / potentially partying, who knows, like for the several days before that. I tuned into their streams. They didn't seem super locked, and they didn't perform. TBE, they haven't been performing more recently because they haven't been as focused. There haven't been a ton of big tournaments. And so it's like, you could only do so much. And I didn't pick them. And then there were some other teams that I think could have had some really big hitting moments if they would have been on. And I think Stukawaki's team is one of those. And of course, Scummin Squad. And both Scummin and Stukawaki tweeted out essentially like, hey, looking for new teammates, didn't like how we performed, blah, blah, blah. And there was this...
Scummins was basically a retweeter, if you will, like a copy pasta with some variation of Stu being that opening one who put out that tweet. I believe they got 7th.
Something like that. Yeah, it was top 10, I think. But
yeah, and Stu, right after the tournament, he did clarify and say he told his teammates he was going to tweet this. This is what he responded to Scummin. I think even if you tell your teammates, it is going to rub people the wrong way. Stu did tweet, still don't know how I get overlooked by some of these good teams that always need one. Feel like I've done pretty good throughout Caldera with a shrug emoji. I can understand, and Scummin responded kind of disrespectful. No, like I can understand his sentiment. I also understand why people are going to look at that and be like, you just kind of look salty.
Well, yeah, I get it from both perspectives. Let's be very clear. Stu is correct about himself. I mean, he just won
that 20K with Hisoka.
Yeah, he has podiumed in 20 events, and out of 20 of those, he won 14 of them. In terms of percentages of podiums, he's the highest. It's not even close. He just wins whatever he plays most oftentimes when he does podium. But the other times he's not podiuming, he's not doing very well because of team chemistry or otherwise. And on paper, his team was fantastic. I think it was him attracting colors, I believe. All 3 of them have slay out potential. All 3 of them were fantastic at the game. But it was Repulse's tweet that was so, I think, critical that just what I have been preaching. Both you and I have been preaching like crazy. Of like chemistry is more important than anything else. As long as you kind of hit the base metrics of being good at the game, chemistry is more important than anything when it comes to customs. And Repulse's tweet was something along the lines of, we're excited, we played together, blah, blah, blah. But then somebody responded to Repulse's tweet and was like, hey, Super Evan and Biffle did amazing. They got a ton of eliminations, and you didn't. Like, Repulse didn't get a ton of eliminations. He averaged I think it was 2 per game or something. Like, it was low. But that doesn't matter. Their team got second. His role was IGL, helping them IGL, making a ton of calls, and being the glue that brings that full team together. And he did that flawlessly. He played support. He had resources. He got the reses. He played support flawlessly. And that's the reason they got second and almost won, was that team chemistry that they had. And that's what is the kind of like non-quantifiable metric of a great team, is the chemistry that they have and how they work together as a team. It's very obvious when you tune into streams where maybe it's Stu Colors and Attract, or maybe it's whoever. When things start going wrong, how do you react? And it was split comms. We're all making different decisions and not congested and doing one. Even when we would finally decide on one thing and then go do it, you're now doing it 45 seconds late. Like, it's those little things that you're doing wrong because you don't agree and you don't have a ton of reps together, you don't have the chemistry, that sets a good team apart from a great team. And I think that's what Repulse was saying, is like, obviously you don't understand that the mental attributes that it takes to be a really good Warzone customs competitor are things that are non-quantifiable. And he's totally right. And anybody that disagrees, you obviously haven't been watching the highest level teams. Like, even TB, when they are killing it, not all three of them can be at the top of the individual kills leaderboard. Like, it's usually noobs, to be honest, that is down in the middle, playing a bit more support, playing a bit more passive or otherwise. And that's how you play in customs.
Right. And not everyone can be the star of the show, right? I think a lot of people have, and I love this phrase, main character syndrome. You're not the center of the universe in your life, in the world, and certainly not in your Warzone team. And you need to understand the role you slot yourself into. Everyone wants to be that high slayer. Everyone wants to be, oh my God, look at that shot. Look at that great moment. Look at this person's name at the top of the leaderboard. But it is that team chemistry that is, a lot of the time, everything. Team chem and team cohesiveness within that chemistry will oftentimes beat out raw talent. Yeah. We see it happen all the time. And something that goes into that as well, I think we talk about how important that mental is. If someone makes a play call on your team and you all agree to go along with that play call, you cannot then turn around and start bitching at that person for that play call. I see things like that happen a lot, right?
Yeah.
Players will get critiqued, teammates will get critiques, and I'm like, but did you offer something? No. Did you agree to go along as a unit with what this person is doing? Okay. I think a lot of the time people just have this lack of responsibility and ownership for how they present themselves to their teammates. And it can play out in situations like this. It also leads into, and we don't necessarily need to get here because we've talked about this a lot, is deserving and entitlement and things like that, which we don't need to touch on. But Repulse was absolutely 1,000% correct, and I'm really glad that he said that. But speaking of mentals, we saw something on the timeline outside of Scum and Stew and Repulse that I was shocked to see, and that was Queen Shadows after the NA Final finished up, and she was playing alongside Swish and Ken's with New York's team. She tweeted, "I've come to terms with myself over the last month that after World Series of Warzone, I will no longer be competing unless I won money. That being said, tomorrow will be my last tournament. Appreciate everyone for supporting me these last couple years. My mind will not be changed." First question, how serious is this tweet?
Look, Queen Shadows to Queen Shadows, I can't answer for Queen Shadows. Let me talk in a general sense outside of Queen about the overall scene. These types of tweets get tweeted incessantly on the timeline from general competitors. They're so pissed at themselves. They're so bummed. They didn't live up to whatever standard they set for themselves. And so they said, I'm done competing. I'm going to go grind content, or I'm going to go just do whatever. I'm just going to stream, or I'm just going to, who knows? I'm going to go get a job at McDonald's. I don't care. A lot of people say these things, and then a week later, they're grinding 2v2s again, and they get that competitive itch back. So do I know if it's real? No. Queen has tweeted out a couple of these things a couple times now, and to be fair, like, she obviously had some health issues that she's like overcoming, and
internet connectivity based on where she lives. She has a lot of factors that were, I think, maybe worsening this, but we've seen it before.
Yeah, we've seen it before, and ultimately it just comes down to, hey, if this is the case, where do you go from here? Because she is a prolific Warzone player. She's fantastic at the game. She could be making fantastic content, and she was one of the top earners in general, overall, and then in women's side, of course, inside the top 3 or so. So it's like, obviously she can win tourneys. It's just a matter of, hey, are we fully locked down and going to be a competitor where we're grinding VOD reviews and etc., because that's what it takes to be good. We saw it from Ahsoka and Skullface. Or are we going to do tournaments when they make sense? Like, I'll take Iceman Isaac, for instance. I truly think if Iceman Isaac was grinding tourneys nonstop and was doing VOD reviews, he could be a good tournament player. But you can't just play in a tournament every once in a while and expect to do well. And he knows that. He didn't even compete in World Series of Warzone. He's got a whole other job. Like, you know, you have to dedicate to the competitive scene if you want to win. So,
well, and it was the same thing. Bobby made that decision too, right?
Yeah.
I miss seeing Bobby in tournaments, but he said it's completely opposite of my schedule. I don't get a lot of value out of it. So I made that decision based on all my factors that it's just simply not worth it. But by the way, okay, shout out to Skull's stream, because I told you that you told me there was someone else who retired. And I was like, we tried to figure it out this morning. We could not remember. And thank you to Skull's stream, because it was Lovey. It was Lovey who also tweeted out my official "I'm done gaming" tweet. This was my last tournament, and moving forward, because gaming isn't for someone my age and won't amount to anything in my future. Time to look forward and focus on life. It's been real.
Okay. Well, okay. When Lovey is
and you told me that, Coach.
I did not
you
tell
don't
you
remember.
that. It was
yes,
somebody else.
Yes, you did.
Because I do not remember that. Lovey, meaning Face Blue's teammate, right? I would assume that Lovey. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it doesn't make sense, but it does make sense. Like, here's the thing about the gaming world, and you and I have been saying this for years, literally. It's like, hey, if you can't make it work monetarily, time-wise, and you're complaining on the timeline constantly. Well, I'm not Lovey to do this, so I'm just saying in a general sense about money, about kind of taking care of yourself, about the grind. Like, go get a job, make money, and then go grind on the side until you get to a point where you can sustain yourself. And if it's not working, it's not for everybody. So I think that's a fair statement. Like, if you're saying, hey, I'm done, this isn't for me, I haven't performed for the last 12 months, which theoretically on paper is right for Lovey, that's fine. And I say, you know, well wishes, and we hope you do well with whatever you're doing next. And I'm sure you're going to succeed. Like, there's no harm or foul in that. But I will say, we want to make sure that when we make those types of tweets, it's, hey, you know, oh, I'm hanging my head, I'm done, I suck. Is it that? Or is it, you know, I think whatever is next is going to be better for me in my career, and I want to go do that.
It was a good run. Yeah. I will bow out. I mean, Best of luck to everyone. Goodbye.
He and Blue ran tourneys back in Verdansk. I mean, Lovely was a threat. Like, it's you know, and that was only, what, a year and a half ago? Like, you know, it's just a matter of, do you have the time for it or not? And if you don't have the time for it, especially with the competitiveness that it is now, that's totally fine and warranted to some degree. So it is what it is.
We do have time for my next section, which might be my favorite part of Shitters Digest, because there's been a lot of changes, Goats. There's been some shifts at the very tippity top of the Caldera mountain.
Earnings.
And Goj, you put out this tweet.
It banged
You
too, by
can
the way.
lead us. Yes, it did. Goj is the best. Follow Goj, everyone. If you didn't know, Goj is right in all things. Goj, lead us away in what happened exactly with our top earners.
Sure, I tweeted this tweet, and you know, it banged on the timeline, as my earnings tweet do. People only follow me for earnings updates because I at least have the most somewhat accurate earnings comparatively to the rest of the people that keep track of it. Warzone earnings, shout out to our website, it's fantastic. Shout out to the web designer Del Tara. He's the freaking goat, by the way. Literally, like, lead coder at Advanced Micro Devices, AMD, and he's
Shout
working
out to
on
every single player who says thank you to Goj and doesn't just bitch or say he missed something.
You missed $600. Okay, anyways, I don't want to go on that tangent. Regardless, Warzone earnings, cool website. Big update coming, I think, either tomorrow or the next day, like this weekend, with all the Warzone World Series of Warzone updates, because there's a lot of money obviously that changed hands there between the top 20, so that'll shift up placements. But this is the big point, and I think this is a fun conversation to have, not a ha ha ha, you know, you've lost your mountaintop. No, this is just fun. Tommy Allman and Noobs have been the top 3 earners in Caldera from day one until before World Series of Warzone. No one touched them. Not a single person supplanted them, and then they supplanted back. It's been those top 3 by a million, because they won all the big tournaments early and then kept that money up. People had been slowly gaining on them, like FIFA Kill or otherwise, only a couple thousand behind Noobs. Well, then World Series of Warzone happens. A couple things happen. On paper, before World Series of Warzone started, I looked at it and I was like, somebody's winning 100K. Tommy's right below 100K total. Almond's right above 100K total, and Noobs is down at like 75 or 76 total.
Right.
So Tommy Almond and Noobs, one of them had to have won the 100K solo YOLO, preferably Noobs. It had to really be Noobs to do it, for them to maintain the top 3. because it prevents one person from getting there, and then the rest of them, as long as they place is somewhere inside the top 5 or so.
There was enough buffer.
Yeah, there's enough there. Like Tommy would go over 100K as long as somebody like FIFA didn't win the 100K, right? So of course that doesn't happen. One, you had out of nowhere, out of nowhere, but also I predicted this. Let's be clear here. I'll ego
everyone,
myself.
Once again, for everyone in the back, Coach is right at all times and very smart.
EU World Series of Warzone. I named my top 5 and I said, but my dark horse candidate to win it all. They've got the Kim. They've been playing together for a while. They got comp experience. It's Vortex, it's Blade, and it's Savvy Ultras. And they win it. They win the whole thing. I was elated, of course. But then Blade goes on to win the 100K as well. So Blade, on paper, from what I keep track of, which is only $1,000 prize pools or more, Blade had like $1,100 or like $1,200 earned in Caldera. Won $116,667 2 days ago. So obviously jumps all the way up, about $2,000 above Almond. And it is the top earner on Caldera because of World Series of Warzone, which is crazy. And of course, that means if Almond doesn't place high enough, he stays outside of first place.
Right. And that's... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You had been
dramatic
monologuing.
Coach, no. This is your monologue because this is your moment. Take it away. Sorry.
So then on paper, it was like, okay, if Almond just places inside like at the top 5 or so, he's going to really, I think it was like top 6 or 7. He's going to supplant Blade, and Almond's still going to be the very top. You probably will see Blade above, you're definitely see Blade above Tommy, and you'll still see him above News, but at least Almond's at the very top, as long as a random or nearly random, somebody outside the top 40 or so earned, wins the NA side, and then FIFA Kill, which we've already broken down, wins the whole thing. FIFA was only $3,000 or $4,000 behind Noobs. Now FIFA Kill's most earned $172,000.
Ooh. And you take a look at that, right? FIFA Kill now in first, as you said, Almond in second, and Blade in third. It's not to take away from the consistent dominance we saw out of TBE throughout Caldera.
Yeah.
Especially when you get moments like a, 1 in 120 chance in a solo YOLO of earning $100,000, right? That can shift things up because TBE really have been just so strong consistently throughout, I would say 95-ish% of Caldera. It really has been toward these last few months where we just haven't seen quite the same thing out of them. And it could be energy, lack of big tournaments, whatever it may be, passion. It's hard to consistently be on the top once you're already there, right? Because you don't have the hunger of a Skullface or a Huskerrs or a Myapo to get where you already are. But it is really impressive to see that top 3 change up. With FIFA and Blade joining into, especially Blade too. I think I saw him. I think he's streaming right now. He's got like almost 600 viewers.
Yeah, he's
Blade
popping off. Yeah.
So that's one of those moments where you have that moment, take it, build off of it, and hopefully run away with it.
Yeah, and it definitely doesn't discredit anything that TBE was able to do. Everybody still claims that they're the best trio in the game, and I think everybody will continue to claim that. Maybe not on that day, but
overall, yes. Right now, no.
Sure. Maybe right now you're looking at Skullface, Ahsoka, and Myapo as the best, right? I mean, that's fair. So anyways, an interesting conversation to have, of course, but still, shout out to TBE. They're obviously insane, and we'll see if they'll definitely make a comeback, of course, for Warzone 2, which is right around the corner. But fun conversation. I think, by the way, 6th and 7th, I think Ahsoka and Juki's are like nearly the same now. Right behind, which is kind of funny because Ahsoka and Juki's have made a long history of playing together as well. And you heard Ahsoka's episode. If you guys missed it, go check it out, where he talked about how thankful he was for Juki's for giving him an opportunity. Now they're the next 2 outside the top 5, like right next to each other in overall earnings, with the 16K added to Ahsoka. So fun.
And now we have a couple more things. We're getting there.
Oh,
right?
What, on Shitter's Digest?
Yeah, sure. There's a couple more.
Yeah, I mean we're halfway through. It feels like. No, not actually, but yeah. Take us to the next topic. I just spent like 25 minutes talking about myself there about earnings. So go for it. You go next.
Well, I'm gonna lead into another thing that you did because you are the best of all time and you are goated.
I don't even know what this is.
CDL R2. We did get that announcement, so I'm gonna throw it right back to you. Look, I need a little bit of time to feel special in this podcast, and I'm gonna hand it back over to GOJJ. There was an announcement, and who'd the announcement come from in the finals? None other than the man sitting next to me. I'm trying to think. Wait, you're this way? That guy right there. And it is CDLR2. It is that 100K on Fortune's Keep. I had been calling for that. I was like, there's no way you're putting out Fortune's Keep toward the end of the lifespan of Warzone and not doing some sort of tournament on it. And that's exactly what happened. But there have been some qualification changes and things that I know you're far more well-versed on that you can speak to.
Yeah, and we're going to actually, there should be a separate video on this, like everything you need to know about CDLR2, about Split 2, about Fortune's Keep, however you want to call it, that you can go watch on this channel. So if you're like tuning into this and you're like, give me all the details, there's like a 8-minute video that gives you everything you need to know without you having to like search through all the websites and stuff. However, the base breakdown here is, and I'll give you a little bit behind the scenes here that I wouldn't say in the video. Really cool. I can't say necessarily everything, but really cool that, you know, Activision post CDLR1 and going into World Series of Warzone kind of reached out to me, not as like, oh, help us fix things. No, it was more like, hey, we want to listen to the community, and obviously GOJJ and plenty of other casters, including Katie and Gantro and Tiff and other people that really gave a lot of insight. We're like, hey, give us your thoughts and what would you change? What are things that you know, wish we would have done different or whatever? And I started having fairly long conversations with the team, which was really fun for me. And because of that, they kind of, you know, let me and put me on as kind of the announcer for CDLR2. So I was able to hop on main broadcast, talk about Fortune's Keep, talk about the changes that kind of Activision and myself kind of came up with together based on feedback. Specifically, one of the major things, of course, that even I had flagged before World Series of Warzone was the scoring mechanisms. Like, hey, you have to score as a team. You register as a team first, then score as a team so that you can have...
Huskerrs and Co. abuse that.
Yeah, so you don't have the cheese.
Points.
You don't have the cheese, and it allows people that are of different types of players. The support player, the otherwise, that aren't pub slayers, that slay out in customs. Like, it allows those players to qualify in the open qualifier system at least a tad bit better. So... still open qualifiers are like best 10 games. There's also like a question of not even ethics. That's not the right word for it, but there was a question of like fairness because integrity maybe of the open quals, because of course you had people that could grind 24 hours straight to get the best possible results.
And people who couldn't.
A lot of people that couldn't. And so they changed it up this time, and it's Friday, Saturday, Friday 2 to 8 p.m. I think that's Pacific, if I'm remembering correctly. 2 to 8 p.m. Pacific when it's open on Friday, and then 2 to 8 p.m. Pacific on Saturday as well. So it like limits the time that you get to play, makes it a little bit more like what I will call
equitable for
or competitive. Exactly.
Yeah. And again, I think because I forgot and then you reminded me, but we are going to have more out on this on our YouTube. So if you really want that, I believe that video comes out before this, so please reference back to it. We are gonna have a very condensed video digging into everything that GOJJ has touched on for CDLR2, Fortune's Keep, what it means, how you enter, so on and so forth. So please make sure if you want that information that you check that out. But there's a lot of information, a lot of big things that are around the corner. The next one that's happening in a week, exactly a week, is CODNEXT. It is the big MW2 event that is going to be happening here in LA. There's tons of creators, a ton of really great folks that are going to be out here to not only experience the new multiplayer, but to be able to experience Warzone 2 and even some other goodies. I am really fortunate enough to be able to be there for that event. I will be in attendance. And when I told GOJJ, I was like, all right, we need to plan exactly what we are doing with the takeaways from this, because I'll have the ability to talk to the devs. And I want to know specifically, my focus is going to be Warzone 2, right? It's going to be plans on the tournaments, any other implementations that might make that quality of life easier, whatever it may be. So I'm very excited for that, but it is going to be our first look, because we'll be able to stream during the event on the 15th. Our really first look at what we'll see out of Warzone 2. I have high hopes for it. I know the devs have been working very, very, very hard. But that's going to be, you know, so many people have asked for a ranked mode. I can't imagine that's what we're going to see off rip, especially if that's not something we're seeing traditionally in CODs now at the start of a launch. But that event will tell us a lot, I think, about the opening landscape of Warzone 2 for competitors.
Yeah, I totally agree. And there's a lot of things happening there. Really excited for you and for a lot of the creators that are able to go to that. It's gonna be a lot of fun to see what they kind of whip out for Modern Warfare 2, for Warzone 2, and then they're also gonna be showcasing Warzone Mobile. So there's a lot going on that day, a week from today. So excited to kind of create some videos around that. Katie, of course, will wait until the embargo is done, and then Katie and I will debrief and crank a bunch of videos out as fast as possible. So that's super fun. I guess final thing here that we'll kind of finish with just a little extra tidbit for those at home that missed it. Huskerrs finally signed with Luminosity Gaming. Apparently it's been a deal he'd been working on for over a year. I remember that like about a year ago that he had left NRG, and or maybe it was about 6, 7, 8 months ago that he left NRG and been working on this Luminosity deal for a long time. Joined Luminosity Gaming. And what's interesting about this pickup, I think, is that Luminosity doesn't necessarily have a lot of Warzone creators. Like they're not known as a Warzone based org. They're not known as like, oh, Luminosity, they compete in all the Warzone events and put up teams. Like obviously not a CDL team, but outside of that, like NRG is known as like, oh, they always have like Warzone people, or they have since the beginning of Warzone. Luminosity does not. And Huskerrs is this big pickup that is, I mean, yes, he was an Apex competitor and other things, but I mean, he is a Warzone streamer, and Luminosity picked him up. Super interesting.
Yeah, exciting for them. I mean, the most presence they have is going to be Seattle Surge, right? As the Luminosity arm in CDL. But yeah, they are essentially completely absent in Warzone. So getting Huskerrs is a massive pickup for them. I don't know if that's signaling that they have an appetite to build out a Warzone roster. I do know that Ken's has been a Seattle stan, and by extension Luminosity. I think she tweeted out that they followed her recently. She's been barking up their tree for a long time, so we'll see if anything happens there. But it's interesting to see how Huskerrs played out, because Huskerrs was not just in talks with Luminosity. I don't think it's really my place to say here, but there were other orgs in the scene, one in particular that was very much so trying to gun after him. It did not pan out, but I'm excited for him, right? We'll see how everything goes now that LASIK Vision Huskerrs is in action.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, that's all we've got today. We went through a lot. We again, huge shout out to Skullface, of course, for coming on the podcast. But thank you guys for tuning in for the Shitters Digest portion, and of course, Kolosseum Stat Chat. A long episode, but a good one, a hearty one, a nice hearty meal that'll satisfy us until dinner. I'm GOJJ. This is Katie. Final words, Katie, to close this thing out pretty quickly. Where can people find you?
Find me right below my banner, Katie Bedford on Twitch and Worlds Bedford on Instagram and Twitter. You can also find me at the CODNEXT event on the 15th, so make sure you look forward to that.
Boom. There you go. I'm GOJJ. I'm casting things left and right. You can follow me at Grandmaster GOJJ on all socials. Looking forward to the next time. Our next episode is going to be a banger as well. And make sure you go check out some of our other content, all the other interviews that we've done, and subscribe, click the bell, all that good stuff. Until next time, we'll see you then. Peace.